Hi, everyone, and welcome to season 7 of Behind Your Eyes. And in this second episode, the lovely Becca is my guest. So, hi, Becca. Would you like to introduce
Hello.
yourself to everyone?
Sure. Hi, I'm Becca Kyle. I am a certified functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner and a board certified holistic health practitioner. And I help driven women, type A, like myself, overcome health obstacles so they can make a difference for their families, their communities, and the world. It is my mission to make the world a better place. And I believe that starts with me.
Absolutely. Well, I always start with the same question, and that is a sincere, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Glad it's Friday. Last couple days here have been gorgeous. So I've been able to spend a lot of time outside, which just fills my cup so much. So I've been able to get a lot of nature time, sunlight, grounding in. So I'm feeling great.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, the sunshine helps a lot, right?
Oh yeah, I'm solar powered. I need the sun.
Well, I would like to talk a bit about your mental health journey because, from what I've read, your story has been quite varied, like with anxiety, brain fog, and I would love to know, yeah, a bit about that and how that went for you.
Yeah, so I started probably diving into a lot of my mental health issues in college. That was the first time I had my first panic attack. And I really thought I was having a heart attack. I wasn't, but it felt like I was. That was also the beginnings of me really not addressing my stress level, really not addressing my health. I burn the candle both ends. I've always been very driven to succeed and do what I want and do what I want now, that sort of mentality. And over the years, that presented itself, as anxiety, as seasonal affective disorder. And then I also struggled with postpartum depression, especially after my last kiddo. I had a life-threatening condition, which kind of exacerbated a lot of mental health issues for me. And then I have tick-borne illness. So some people call it Lyme disease, but I really believe it's more than just the Lyme bacteria. There are other co-infections. It's not as simple as Lyme. It's this kind of cluster of infections that go into tick-borne illness, which the bacteria and the co-infections can really create a perfect storm for anxiety, brain fog, just a nervous system dysregulation. And that's kind of something that I have to be very aware of. And I know now a lot of my triggers, like being overscheduled, not enough rest and play, not enough sunlight, not enough buffer, really sends me spiraling downward again. So it's not, I don't, for my personal mental health journey, it's not just this mountaintop you get to, because life happens, right? About a month ago, my middle son got bitten by a venomous snake. And that kind of really sent my nervous system into a bit of a spiral. But thankfully, I have a lot of tools in my tool belt now to be able to get my nervous system back on track. I also have some genetic predispositions for histamine overload, which most people think of histamine as itchy, sneezy, environmental allergies, but it's so much more than that. It's a neurotransmitter. And if your body's not getting rid of histamine the way it's supposed to, can build up, and anxiety is one of the biggest symptoms. I'm also genetically what's called a slow MAO, which can also significantly drive his anxiety. And one of the really methods to combat that is to switch up some of the types of foods I eat. So if I'm feeling anxious, I cut down on high tyramine foods, which is anything that is aged or fermented. And it really, really helps me to get back to a stable mood. So I kind of have the perfect storm for some the potential for significant brain fog and anxiety and irritability, nervous system dysregulation. And so I really feel like it's not a constant battle. I wouldn't call it a battle, but it's being very purposeful in how I take care of my mental health and making sure I'm actively scheduling in rest and play, making sure that I'm actively working to not overschedule myself. I have 3 kids. I run a business. You know, sometimes I feel like I need to be 5 people, and I'm not. I'm one person. So that's basically my mental health, you know, journey in a nutshell.
Yeah. Oh, you answered like most of my questions that I have already.
Oopsie, sorry.
No, it's awesome. I love it. No, but I wanted to go back just a bit because, as you said, that your anxiety was mostly triggered by, burning yourself out or burning your candle on both ends. So, yeah, how did you restore from that?
You know, it sometimes it was the little things. Sometimes it was literally just making sure I'm taking 10-minute breaks throughout my day of what I call white space, where you're not on a phone, you're not listening to anything. You're literally, for me, that looks like sitting in the sunshine, listening to the birds or whatever animals, feeling like being very aware of like the breeze on my skin, deep breathing, maybe some breath work, some meditations. And sometimes it's just those little short spurts throughout the day. That's what really keeps me going. And sometimes it's literally I need like a whole day with no one talking to me, no one needing me. And so to me, it's about being aware and understanding my triggers, understanding what works for me as far as keeping my mood balanced. And because I don't believe in a one size fits all anything, you know, and so I've experimented so much with so many things over the years that now I have a really good set of tools in my tool belt. And, you know, if that means, and I love to lift weights, I like to go to the gym, but sometimes like, I'm just like, I really just need to walk. Walking is, you know, go for a walk. Walking is one of my biggest tools in my tool belt for my mental health. I don't even really walk for physical health, like as far as, you know, exercise goes. It's just, if I'm feeling like really freaking out, a 30-minute walk, it literally shifts almost everything for me. And so I think it's just figuring out what works for you, what helps you. And then I take, you know, certain supplements to support my adrenal function. My adrenals are kind of always in a little bit of like fight or flight because of the tick-borne illness. And then at one point too, I also had some mold toxicity, and mold and mycotoxins, the toxins that mold creates, cause neuroinflammation. And so that can definitely trigger anxiety, depression, irritability, brain fog, all of those things. And then I worked really, 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 really hard on my gut. So, you know, your gut makes neurotransmitters, it makes those feel good hormones. And if your gut's not properly in balance, then you're not going to be making your neurotransmitters that can help you to feel happy and joyful and balanced and peaceful. So I come at mental health from just such a variety of variables, because I don't believe it is one thing. It's not one thing that's causing your anxiety or your depression or your irritability or your brain fog. Typically, it's multiple things. And so often we do it to ourselves. Like I burnt myself out multiple times. I've had multiple seasons of burnout. But now I'm at the ripe old age of 44. I just put forth so much more of an effort to not put myself in that situation.
And to put yourself and your health first.
Yeah, because there's that a saying that I hate, that I have to pour out of myself to serve others. And I think that's 100% BS. We are not cups. We are not pitchers. We don't pour out of ourselves to serve others. We are serving bowls. And to me, self-care is simply putting things in your bowl that delight you, that bring you joy, that bring you peace, rest activities, play activities. And when you fill up your bowl, we serve the people we care about best from the overflow, because if you're burnt out, strung out, overwhelmed, or if you're peaceful, delighted, joyful, balanced, who's going to serve those people better?
Oh,
right?
yeah, true. I think still it's seen as like a noble deed to almost like burn yourself out to help others.
Yeah, it's not. You're not doing yourself any favors. And you're certainly really not doing those other people any favors, because you're not at your best self. The world needs people at their best selves, because then you can truly give the world the gift of you and your talents and your expertise, and your personality. And if you're just depleted and exhausted, you're not gonna offer the world the gift of yourself in this.
No, because when your bowl is filled, you can give all of yourself, not just the little pieces that are left over, so to say.
Yeah, leftovers. I like that. That's perfect. Yeah. Nobody wants the leftovers. You want the fresh piece of chicken or whatever. We're not chicken, but
yeah.
Kind of weird.
But it's very true. But I still see that a lot around me, that like, oh, you sacrifice yourself for the happiness of others. I'm like, oh, it's not helping anyone. It's really not helping anyone. Yeah,
No.
like you said, fill your own bowl first with all the things that you enjoy and that give you energy, and then you can give to the rest from that place of joy and of happiness.
Yeah. And people are going to respond to that so much better. I think people can sense if it's almost like when you're so strung out and you're just kind of begrudgingly like, okay, I'm going to bring this person a meal because they're sick, or whatever it is that you want to do to help someone, versus truly serving from a place of with a capacity to just shower someone with love and kindness and support, versus like, I literally have 5 minutes of energy left, so here you go. Like, it's a difference, and people can feel that too. People can sense when you're like all in and like operating at a high vibe, high level, versus like barely hanging on.
Absolutely. And it also comes like from a place of authenticity, I think, and that comes from self-love, I feel, because if you don't love yourself, of course, it's always great to help others. But like you said, when it comes from that place within you, when you already filled your own bowl, then it's so much more authentic, and you don't wear yourself out while helping others.
Exactly. And then you just, and when you're at that place, you can serve so many other people. You can do a better job, at your place of employment, or if you own your own business, or if you have employees, you're going to be a better manager. If you have kids, I've got 3 boys, who are high energy. And if I'm exhausted, I don't have it in me to go like throw the baseball around or cheer as loud as I want to at their baseball games or whatever. It takes energy, mental energy, physical energy. It takes coming from a place of a balanced system, because if we're always operating in that fight, flight, freeze, versus that stress mode versus relaxation mode, it's not gonna work out. It's not gonna be what you really want it to be in your heart. When most people want to come from a place of service.
And when you come from that place of authenticity, you can actually enjoy the service.
Exactly. Versus feeling like I have to or I should. Wouldn't it be amazing if it was always just I want to, I get to?
Exactly. It's a pleasure that I get to do this. Absolutely.
Exactly.
And you mentioned before the importance of gut health with mental health, that connection. And I can so relate to it because I've been recently diagnosed with IBS, irritable bowel syndrome. And I'm like, I think it's still like almost like an undervalued connection that is made. And it's essential. Could you talk a bit more about how important that is?
So there's this thing called a gut brain axis. Think of it like a superhighway in your body, and your brain talks to the microbes in your gut. The microbes in your gut talk to your brain, and everyone has, just to simplify the concept, good bacteria, bad bacteria, friends and foes. The good bacteria, they're making serotonin for you. They're creating vitamins and nutrients in your body. They're providing protective measures in your gut, right? The pathogenic or bad bacteria, they're only causing problems. And again, everyone has both, but we want at least at a minimum a balance, if not more good guys than bad guys. And so like if you have more pathogenic bacteria than good bacteria, they're going to be telling your brain, because they want to thrive. They want to say, eat sugar, eat junk, don't get your rest, because that's when they proliferate and thrive, right? And so it's what goes on in your gut directly impacts your mood, directly impacts brain fog, directly impacts your brain. And so when I'm working with my clients, we do a lot of work on gut health, and it's funny because I use a lab called the GI map to assess gut health. And it's really interesting because sometimes I have clients like you that are like, I have IBS, I have constipation, I have bloating. And it's obvious that there's something wrong in the gut, whether that's a parasite or H. pylori or just an overgrowth of the pathogenic bacteria, right? But sometimes I have clients who are like, no, I don't have gut symptoms. I have insomnia, and I have brain fog, and I have anxiety, and I'm irritable every day. So I say, you know what, we're still going to run this test, because again, you, there's some stuff that's going to show up. And so often the people that have more of the neurological presentation have worse things going on in their gut than the people that are primarily gut-centric presentation. And that's because of that. There's this whole concept of bioindividuality. Some people, when they have an imbalanced gut microbiome, present primarily neurologically versus the physiological side of like the bloating and constipation.
Right. Yeah, it's so fascinating to me because, like I said, I've just recently found this out about myself, because before I was sure I was having some food allergies. And I got tested for so many things, and like no food allergies going on. So I didn't make the connection with a trauma that I've had 9 years ago. And that was when that actually started.
Okay.
So that was how related it was to my actual mental health. And then this is like my mental health has improved so much and all the traumatic symptoms have improved. But then my IBS suddenly started to play up again. It's like, okay, the trauma is almost gone. And then the IBS is like, ooh, here I am. It's like, it's fascinating.
It's, and what trauma does is it dysregulates your nervous system. So we have the stress hormone called cortisol, and it can be very high, it can be very low, but high cortisol impacts your gut immune system. And so if you have chronic stressors or you have trauma, it can directly impact your gut. And then as women, we hold our grief and our trauma and that sort of negative energy in our womb space, and which can directly impact your gut function. So if you don't address that trauma, it can present as IBS or, bloating or constipation. And then I would ask you a question that's maybe is a little bit of a rabbit trail for you personally to go ask the questions after we're done. But many people don't have what I would call traditional food allergies, but a lot of people have food sensitivities, which is a different type of reactivity. So just like most people aren't celiac, but there's a lot of people, especially a lot of my clients, who have non-celiac gluten sensitivity, which can present just as atrociously as celiac. It can cause, like, if I didn't know I had a gluten sensitivity, which I'm highly sensitive to, I would have sought out a rheumatoid arthritis diagnosis because it impacts my joints so much. It gives me exceptional brain fog. I get migraines. It skyrockets my anxiety. It makes my gut feel awful, right? And I'm not celiac. I'm not allergic to it, but
Yeah.
I'm highly sensitive to it.
Yeah, same with me. I have a sensitivity for anything spicy, so I can't eat
Okay.
peppers or onions and garlic are a sensitivity for me as well. So when I've eaten that, it would mostly come at night, so I would have night anxiety. When my body was resting, my
Yeah.
my anxiety would go through the roof, and I thought, okay, that's the food allergy because I've eaten this and this. But
Yeah.
now I know it's different. Yeah.
And I love that you have made that connection.
Mm,
For some people, they haven't yet made those connections to
yeah.
how food makes you feel, because a lot of people probably think a food sensitivity or food reaction is primarily like gut centric, oh, my stomach
Hmm.
hurts, right?
Hmm.
But a food's reaction to a food can be anxiety, it could be fatigue, it could be
Hmm.
headaches, could be just like feeling inflamed, joint pain. There's so many different types of a reactivity. So I love that you already have really figured that out for yourself
Hmm.
on certain levels. And peppers and tomato, like salsa. Ugh, I love salsa. It does not love me.
Yeah.
All of those are in a class of nightshades, and nightshades can be atrocious for certain people. I'm one of them. It sounds like you might be one of them.
Hmm. Yeah.
And so that's why I like the idea of keeping, if you're not sure, just keeping like a 2-week food log. And
Yeah.
I have one that I give to my clients. In fact, if you want to add it to show notes or anything like
Hmm.
that as a PDF, I don't know if you have the capacity to do that. I'd be happy to share the one I use with my clients. And it's great because it's just check boxes. You list
Hmm.
the food and it's check boxes. Because if a food is right for you, it should provide satisfaction. It shouldn't
Hmm.
make you hungry in an hour. It should give you sustained energy. It shouldn't make you like jittery or anxious. It shouldn't make you, want to eat really, really soon. There are these, variables that to be
Hmm.
aware of for if a food is right for you or if a food is not right for you.
Yeah, but do you think that currently we have kind of almost like a distorted relationship with food?
Yeah, I think so. Um, you've probably heard the saying food is fuel, which it
Hmm.
is. But to me, there's an even more basic foundational level of what food is. Food is simply information. It's
Hmm.
information that either tells your body to inflame, to have, present with symptoms, to cause an immune response, to cause a stress response in the body, or
Hmm.
it's information that's going to tell your body like to feel good, to provide it with good energy, to not spike, or to give you like just peace and happiness. So it's just information. And
Hmm.
I don't believe there's any one size fits all anything, not a food,
Hmm.
not a supplement, not exercise. There's not one thing that's suitable for everyone across the board.
Hmm.
And especially with food, it can be so different for everyone. Like for me, because I have histamine issues,
Hmm.
certain foods can be high in histamine.
Hmm.
So something like avocado, probably one of the most quote unquote healthiest health foods
Hmm.
out there, but it's exceptionally high in histamine.
Hmm.
So when I'm in the throes of a histamine flare, which is not all the time,
Hmm.
um, I have migraines and I have severe anxiety. So for me, when I'm in a flare, eating something like avocados or citrus or spinach or bananas, all of those are high in histamine, can make my anxiety worse.
Hmm.
I had one client who was just a lovely human. She was really, really struggling with anxiety, like um, almost not functioning.
Hmm.
And she had 4 small children and was just didn't know what to do. And we ran some labs, and one of the labs we ran was food sensitivities. And she started shifting her diet away from the food sensitivities. And a week later, she messaged me. She said, "Becca, I feel worse." And I said, "Well, tell me what you shifted to."
Hmm.
And she gave me the list, and then alarm bells started ringing in my head because she shifted away from her food sensitivities. She actually added more high histamine foods.
Hmm.
About that same time, we got her genetics lab back that shows that she's predisposed genetically to not break down histamine well in her body.
Wow.
Um, She's literally suffered with this debilitating anxiety for like 5 or 6 years. And she had been trying to get healthy. She was going to the gym. She literally prided herself on eating one of those giant buckets of spinach that you can buy at the grocery store, each week. And spinach is like so high histamine.
Yeah.
So I said, all right, I'll just call her Sarah. Her name's not Sarah, but I said, all right, Sarah, don't get mad, but we're going to try something for a week or two. And it's going to limit your diet a little bit more, but we need to see if this is what's going on. So we transitioned her away from her food sensitivities and away from her high histamine foods. And 3 days into that transition, she called me sobbing because her anxiety was gone.
Wow.
And so there are foods that are high in histamine. A low histamine diet is not super sustainable long term because it is very restrictive. But there are other aspects that drive histamine in the body. There are certain pathogenic gut bacteria, certain even probiotics that drive up histamine. Mold toxicity drives up histamine. Candida drives up histamine. Estrogen, high estrogen or estrogen dominance drives up histamine. So a low histamine diet can be a really great short-term quick fix, while you work on the other underlying factors that are also driving histamine.
Yeah.
And so she's now at the point, because we worked on she had mold toxicity. I mean, she had all sorts of things going on. She's at the point where her diet's much more broad now. She's worked on her gut. She doesn't have as many food sensitivities, and she can eat more high histamine foods. It didn't happen overnight, but it did happen. And, so many people want to turn to medications for mental health issues, which I'm not bashing meds. There's a time and a place for medication. There's a time and a place for traditional medicine. I've had my life saved by traditional medicine. But sometimes I think we make things more complicated than we need to. And we're not searching for what could potentially be really simple answers, like I'm eating a bucket of spinach a week, right?
Yeah.
Most people probably wouldn't connect that to having severe anxiety. But, to me, the more people who are aware that this sort of thing could be happening, or like for me, eating those high tyramine foods, aged fermented things, can drive my anxiety. So just, it's my mission. One of my missions is to educate. Like the more people who know that these types of things can be the culprit for a mood imbalance, the more I think people are going to seek out different types of answers or try different things. Maybe I'm going to try a low histamine diet for a couple of weeks and see how it makes me feel. And that might give you massive answers.
Yeah. And it can make such a difference.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
Yeah. And I've recently been to energy healer. She acupuncture. And it was so crazy because when I went to an energy healing session, they said, oh, you have a blockage in your sacral chakra. And that's, of course, the stomach area. I'm like, okay, those are linked as well. So yeah, it has an effect on everything.
Yeah, last year I did a 3-month program with an incredible womb healing energetic healer. And I had, like I said, with my last kiddo, a life-threatening condition that ended up in a C-section followed by immediate hysterectomy. It's a life-saving procedure. And I didn't deal with any of that trauma. I didn't. I just shoved it down. I got back into life. I mean, I had business to run. I had 2 other kids. It's just like, I'm just going to deal with this later.
Yeah.
Well, that didn't do me any favors. And so finally I was like, oh my gosh, and I had such severe postpartum depression. Like when you have that, it's hard to recognize that you actually have it. And when I recognized, I was like, oh my gosh, this is what's going on. I reached out to her and did this program with her and did some really intense breathwork sessions and energetic healing. And I released the first breathwork session, and she was trying to set the stage. She's like, if you can laugh, you can cry, you can shout. She said, don't judge the emotion that's coming out. Just let it be what it will be. And I'm thinking, okay. And feeling emotions is something that I'm only now kind of becoming comfortable with, which is why I like put up walls and shove it down. And so I was like, okay, I can do this. And I'm like just going and doing the breathing and, following along. And I'm like, I don't think I'm really gonna cry or like maybe, I don't know, maybe I'll laugh. And then literally in a split second, I started wailing like a banshee. Just the sounds that came out of my mouth. I was like, I sounded like a wounded animal or something, but I technically was a wounded animal. And that was the first time I had truly been able to release some of the stored trauma and stored grief from what I had experienced. And it was hard work. I mean, I think something like working on your gut or changing your diet is easier than dealing with your trauma. But the trauma is just as important, if not more. If you hold on to it, your nervous system will stay dysregulated. Like, no matter what you eat or what pills you take or whatever, like you have to address it.
Yeah, the trauma comes out if you either if you want it or not, it's coming out.
It's going to be there and it's going to impact your daily life. And so, anyone that's listening, I would just encourage you to find somebody who can help you. For me, I didn't want talk therapy. I didn't want like that traditional kind of counseling. Like I wanted the energetic movement and the energetic release, which is why I chose the person that I did. And I love her. She's like magic. I really credit her, I feel like, with saving my life. And she works 100% virtually. So like I didn't have to leave my house. I could do the breath work, in my bed and be peaceful, and not feel like someone's gonna hear me or whatever. And so there's EMDR. I mean, there's all sorts of modalities to try. So I would encourage anyone who's dealing with trauma or unresolved grief to find someone that's a good fit for you, or keep trying. Don't give up until you find what that good fit for you is.
Absolutely, because it's important to feel safe with the person.
Oh yeah.
And how do you
when I would
oh, sorry. No,
I was gonna say no, just kidding.
Zoom.
I know. I was just gonna say, like, I feel like that's what Miriam, my therapist, was for me. She was just magical, and it was like being in her virtual presence was like being wrapped around, enveloped in the most safe and beautiful like hug. Good stuff.
And from that place, when you're seen, felt, heard, it's a lot safer to let the trauma and those feelings surrounding the trauma, to let those go. So that was a lesson for me to learn as well, because you're not a fit for everyone. You don't have a connection with anyone and everyone. So you have to find what works and feels good for you.
Yep, 100%.
And well, my final question is also always the same one, and that is, when are you at your happiest?
Oh, when I am at my happiest, typically I am outside in nature. I love the ocean. I love the mountains. Like I love the desert. I love being outside. I love hiking. I especially love hiking with my family. So the physical movement, like walking, hiking, being out in nature, not being around technology, not being under fluorescent lights, like that, or just sitting by a river, whatever it is, fills me with so much peace and joy, and brings me to such a more regulated nervous system. So I would say not being around a ton of people, like being in the wide open space with a few people that I really love, moving my body and experiencing the beauty of this natural world. That would be when I'm
being present and mindful in nature with loved ones. For me.
Yes. Oh, I love that. That's weird. Like just sold. Let's go.
Sounds perfect to me.
Yeah. I love it.
Well, thank you so much, Becca. I really enjoyed talking to you.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. I hope that, whoever listening takes just one little nugget from here and goes and like learns more about it, or goes and finds the help they need, or maybe tries a shift in their diet, because it's, people get overwhelmed with, oh, I have to do all these things. No, pick one thing, get really good at it. Then pick another, and then get really good at that. It doesn't have to be 30 changes at once. 1% better every day can make a huge difference over the course of a year.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right.